Hello, guys. Happy Saturday. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend wherever you are in the world today. Coming to you live from New York City. And today we've got a super deep and important message, one we've been talking about all week, and I got a lot to say about it. So stick around. This is Evolve or Die. You know, everyone wants to know where we start, how we start, and it has to start with us, with the individual. Because societies don't change. It's individuals within the society that change. We have developed this value system that is built completely and entirely around individualism, around competition, and most of all, around greed. And a lot of the times, violence as well. Now, in our society today, we are debating everything. We're calling everyone else an idiot if they don't agree with us. And we're calling this freedom of expression. Now, if you ask yourself this question, how is this helping anyone out? Is all of this drama and bullshit making things better? Is it making the conversation go farther? Is it making it go anywhere at all? Because what we're doing here is by doing all of this, we are having the wrong conversation. Because the conversation we need to be having is, who are we? What do we value? Everything that you see in your world is an outcome of the value system that we all subscribe to, that our parents drilled into us, that we had programmed into our subconscious mind. It's no accident. The world is not just unjust. It's perfectly just. Everything you see is just the fruit of how we treat each other and nature. There's this concept that, all the evil is being done by the people in charge. And if you can just get rid of the people in charge, that would fix things. But it's not going to fix anything because those people are just symptoms. They're not causes. It's just like in our medical system, we focus way too much on the symptoms. Think about it. Think about this. Have you ever thought, what turns somebody into a dictator? What turns somebody into a corrupt politician? What turns somebody into a heartless executive that doesn't give a shit about the normal, Joe and Joanne out on the street? Now, person starts out as a beautiful baby, right? And what happens between childhood and adulthood that turns somebody into this person? Well, you have to first understand, we have a huge addiction problem in this world. We're addicted to everything. We're addicted to things. We think things make us who we are. We put our ego into things. That car is not you. That car is something you own. But if you're connected to it, if that's your ego, and now you lose that, well, now what do you do, right? One of the biggest addictions we have in the world right now is the addiction to power. Look at some of the most powerful people in the history of the universe and look at their lives, because those people needed power to feel okay in themselves. Hundreds of millions of people have been murdered, wars and famine, man-made destruction. The addiction to power is always about the emptiness. It's to make themselves bigger, to feel bigger. It's to fill some hole that they have inside. It's a hole that you try to fill from the outside, and that's never going to work. How do you expect to fill an internal void with something from the outer world? It just doesn't work that way. And the other thing to remember is, how can we possibly point a finger when we're doing the same thing? We're doing the same thing, all of us, just at different levels. Because maybe you don't have access to some of these resources, like the billionaires, but you're still doing it. Because what you are doing, my friends, is this. You're manipulating the world out there to try to control the world you've got in here. We live in two separate worlds. We live in the outer world, which is the world of form and things. And then we live in the inner world, which is our thoughts and our ideas and our emotions. And those two worlds are connected to each other. But most of us spend our entire lives reacting to the outer world. Somebody says something and we get offended. Somebody says something that makes us happy. We are reacting to everything. We're not being proactive. We're allowing something from the outer world to infect our inner world. We're manipulating people and places and things to try to make them fit into the tiny sliver that we have created inside our heads of how things have to be to make us happy. Think about that. That is the definition of insanity. You are trying to twist and turn things you have no control over just to fit into the idea of what you think you need to be happy. You never face our fears. We don't. We never face our insecurities that way. We just act like this. We act like that. We don't like it. We like it. You know, we act like because they have more power than we do, that they were more successful at getting things and holding them than we are, that they are more successful, that they are better than us, right? As soon as you think you are better than someone else or inferior to someone else, that is your ego right there. You know it. You know it. So just remember that. These people that we perceive as, these giant enemies, they annoy us because of that. They seem to have everything they want. They don't seem to be doing anything different, but we are doing the same thing in the long run. They're grabbing stuff. They're trying to get as much as they can and give as little for it as they can because we have this belief system that has been drilled into us that said, if I only had more, I'd be happier. Since we are a kid, we feel it. You're in the store, tagging on your mother's skirt. We're crying. We want something so bad because that thing is going to make us happy. And as we get older, they just become bigger and bigger things. I've had sports cars and I've had mansions and I've had all of that shit too. But when you're standing in the cold light of day, it doesn't make you any happier. It may temporarily, but it never will in the long run. That is the problem. We live in a materialistic, self-centered system, and it has creeped in like cancer into our belief system. Now, there's times when this is true. I mean, if you're hungry, food definitely makes you feel better. If you're cold, you can adjust the temperature, you can turn on the heat, you will feel better. But if you have 2.5 pounds, $2.50, 2.5 marks, whatever, to buy coffee, you are richer right now than 2 billion people on this planet. Think about it. If you have clean drinking water, you're better off than 780 million people who don't even have drinking water. If you can walk the streets freely, there are 30 million modern slaves in the world, people still bound by slavery. There is so much in your life and your mind to be grateful for. But what are we doing? We sit on this cushion of advantage. And what happens is we fall asleep. That's what we do. Our subconscious takes over. Even while we're awake, we're asleep. We're sleepwalking through this life and never realizing the amazing, magical thing that it is. We always have to be looking on how we can expand our consciousness so that we can have others share in this bounty that takes away stress, that takes away anxiety, that connects you with people, where you actually listen to what they say and you're not in your head thinking of what you're going to say while they're talking. There's absolutely, Gandhi said it, so many spiritual teachers have said it, there is plenty for the need. There's just not enough for the greed. If the 10% of us who are living comfortably decided to operate from a space of how can I make the 90% live better, everything would change. I am my brother and my brother is me, right? I can't be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. Because if you're not what you ought to be, I'm going to walk down the street, you're going to walk down the street, and we might get robbed because you're hungry. I can't be fully free until you are fully free. We're in this web, the energy web of the universe, but it's a web of mutuality. That's the physical fact that Martin Luther King saw. Deep down inside us, we're all the same, and we all want the same thing. If someone could grant you your wish, and I talked about this the other day, but it's powerful because what you think you want is not what you want. If you want a billion dollars cash, and I tell you you can have it, but you're going to be on an island with that sack of cash, would you want it? And of course you wouldn't. What you're going for is the feeling you're going to get, or you think you're going to get from the money. What you want is freedom and peace and happiness and contentment. But those things do not exist in the outer world. I mean, go out and buy me a pound of peace. Not going to happen. Peace and happiness and contentment and fear and love and all of the things that we either push against and repel or pull into us and try to grab do not exist in the outer world. They only exist inside. And most of all, it's love. We all want love. We want to be loved or experience love. It is a fundamental thing. And so when we recognize we are already the only one that can grant us that, when you realize that it's an inside job, and looking outside of yourself for anything is never, ever going to lead you anywhere but despair, because no person is going to make you happy. No job is going to make you happy. No car, no amount of money, nothing, nothing. Because no matter how happy you are temporarily, it's fleeting, because it's not deep. It's just surface level. When we recognize that we are the only one in our way, when you realize that, everybody you meet, whoever they are, whatever they're doing, ultimately, just remember, they want what you want. They have different conditioning. They grew up differently. They have a past. None of us have the same past. Competition does not really exist, because two people have never had every single experience the same in the history of the universe. So competition really doesn't exist, because you can't put two people against each other unless everything is stacked up evenly. What is much better than competition is creation. When you work from that co-creation area, you're not competing against anyone else. If 5 people are going for one job, well, 4 people are going to be sorely disappointed, and the one will be happy maybe for a while. But if you're creating what you want, you're creating it. There is no competition. Ultimately, everybody wants the same thing. They want peace, they want love, they want freedom. And if we can interact with each other, knowing that, keep that on your mind. You don't know what happened to that person that's giving you the dirty look in the store today. You don't know what happened to them before they got into the store. And by getting pulled into anyone's situation, you're lowering your vibration, but you're also slipping out of the now that you need to stay in to make your dreams come true. You're living in the past or off in the distant future, worried about things that will never happen, and definitely not the way you think they will. If you interact every day with everyone you meet, just remembering that no matter what, inside they want what you want. It's exactly the same. And you try to give that to them with a smile, with anything, just a word, a pat on the back, whatever it is. That is going to change the world. We're not going to create a gentler, kinder, more loving society until we become kinder and gentler and more loving people. There's no way you can force anybody else to be kind or gentle or anything else. That's like somebody in your family is a drug addict and you are going out of your mind trying to help. I understand it, but you, in the end, cannot do anything. The change, you can help them. You can try to make them understand, but the change has to come from within. They have to give that to themselves. They have to grant that to themselves. The only person that you ever have any control over in history is yourself. So that is the work that you are here to do on this planet. You came to evolve into the best and the brightest version of you. You also came to contribute. You came to expand universal consciousness, which we're all a part of, to spread it out Because whether you believe it or you don't believe it, we are all interconnected. We all have impact on each other. We're living in a world that we're living in now because of our fear and our greed and our sense of separation. I versus you, us versus them, white versus black, straight versus gay, man versus woman. It's all bullshit. It's all mental constructs that we have created. And over time, over our lives and the lives of the parents and grandparents before us, we have created mental constructs, and that's how we live our life. Your mind, the thing talking in your head, is not you. You are the consciousness, the person that's able to sit back and realize there's a voice talking in your head. If there wasn't two, you would never realize it. You would never know. That voice is not telling you the truth. That voice is giving you nothing, really, but grief. And it's created this idea that we're all separate from each other. And when you operate from a sense of separation, then it becomes me against the world. It's me against my competitors. You got to get out there. You got to compete. And you got to win at the expense of everyone else. That is not how nature works. In the real world, it's not how life thrives. How biological systems thrive in the long run is through cooperation in every single case. Two trees next to each other, if one outgrows the other and becomes taller, the smaller one dies because it's not getting the sun. Everything is cooperation. When they get overly competitive, they die off, or they adjust their behavior to become more cooperative. That's the history of single cells. It's the history of nature. But nature has had 4 billion years to work it all out. We're about 175,000 years old. So on the evolutionary scale, we're way down here. And we're at a point now where we're starting to talk to each other about these types of things. When you see systems that communicate at a much more effective and efficient rate, that means we are reaching a new plateau, a new level of awareness. In the 70s and 80s, when this started, handfuls of people, and then more, and then more, and then more started to awaken. And we are at a critical point now because war and famine and murder and all of the things that are happening all over this world, we could definitely get a handle on if we could reach that new level of awareness. So there's two things are going to happen here. We're either going to reach that level, or we're going to go the fate of many civilizations before us, and we're going to die off. And I know that sounds scary. It does if you don't believe that we're energy and that we pass through and that this, this life is to learn something and we go on. Death no longer becomes scary. Two things are going to happen, right? You're either going to wake up and it continues on in your consciousness, or nothing happens at all. And either way, what do you have to lose? So being afraid of it and wasting your life fearing something that's inevitably going to happen is ridiculous. The things that we do now, the things we do right now, the choices we make influence the future of life on this planet for the next 1,000 years. Now, you can look at it like a burden, or you could think of it as something really different than that. We've been living at a time where our lives are ennobled by that responsibility. Our lives matter so deeply that the choices we make are so critical that if you think about it, that makes us living lives that could be the most meaningful lives of any generation, because we're at that critical point. The ego is responsible for almost every problem in life, every problem in this world. War, those are egos. The person with the bigger army is going to win, not necessarily the person that, that is right, or the person that's defending themselves. We think that authority and the people in power are going to make the decisions. That it doesn't need to be that way. It's all up to the wisdom of the crowd. If you and I change and 1 billion people change, guess what? We just set the tone. So what is the tipping point for these changes? Well, here it is. The tipping point is me. The tipping point is you. You. Very specifically, it's you. I hope you got something out of this. Listen to this again and again, because this message is so important. And no matter what you're going through right now, this isn't the end of the story. You are holding the pen. This is the story of your life. Don't give up control. Don't hand the pen to anyone else. You finish the book your way. And wherever the story is going now doesn't have to end up there. You know, if you have the book of your life, or say the movie of your life, the great thing that's so comforting to remember is that you're the star, you're also the writer, you're also the director, you're the producer, you're the advertising executive. You have complete control over that product. So if you don't like something, if you don't like the way your story is going, stop bitching about it. Stop blaming other people for it and change it, because only you can. It's only you. The ego can't survive when it's pulled into the light and when it realizes that it's not about what you have, and it's not about your labels of other people. You know, this guy's a jerk, this woman's a mother, that, you know, people aren't just labels. And what happens is we get a mental construct of that in our mind, and when we walk out, we only see labels instead of seeing the beautiful tree. That's an oak tree, that's a palm tree, that, you know, and in our mind, all oak trees are the same. Well, we don't experience anything because our mind is slightly ahead of us. And the voice in your head is only the past. The only thing your mind can do is bring up things from the past, and maybe it's going to be this way again. So that's why if something reminds you of a past trauma, you get the same feelings. Everything rushes up because you've got that stored inside. You've never let it pass through. The trick that we talk about is seating yourself inside as the consciousness, just back enough that those things can pass through, because we take them now and we hold them inside with our willpower. It destroys everything. It keeps us from realizing our dreams when we do that. All right. So why don't this weekend you go out and try to just be more aware? Just pinch yourself occasionally. I used to carry a rock in my coat pocket, and I put my hand in there, feel it, immediately come into the now. Anytime you need to get back, you go on autopilot, you're thinking about something, you're fighting with your spouse in your head, you're doing the whole argument, right? Back and forth. It's never going to happen. Become present. Feel your pant leg, the desk, knock on the window, whatever it is. But once your senses become involved, you rush back to the present, because your mind can't be doing those two things at once. So as soon as you smell, you know, whatever's cooking that sounds great, or a flower or whatever, immediately you're transported into the now. And that is a huge thing, because what you're doing every time that happens is you're pausing that tape that's running whenever you're on autopilot. And the only way you can change that tape is to get into your subconscious. And that has to happen when you're in the now, or right before sleep in the morning or the evening. So sometimes this weekend, just stop. Allow yourself to be present. Look at the sky. It'll look bluer than ever before. The trees will smell better. The flowers will look brighter. It sounds like bullshit, but it's true. And what it does is it conditions your mind to breaks in that tape. And eventually you're going to tape over that whole thing, and you're going to reprogram yourself. That's what it's all about. That rusty, outdated programming that's inside. So I'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new episode of Soul Sunday. And then I'll be back on Monday with a new episode of Life 101. Keep all of your messages coming. We are really, really excited about the growth that's happening. And if you've got topics that you'd like us to cover in our videos, just drop them down below. And we'll definitely do that, because, you know, not that I'm running out of ideas, but I definitely want to do some that, you know, you guys want to hear about. So make sure that you drop us a comment below. Tell us what you thought of this video, and tell us what you'd like me to cover later. Also, if you don't belong to our Facebook group, why not? Because it is the place to be. It is a group, a community, a family of like-minded people. We are banded together, and we do that helping, supporting, and empowering each other, because that's the trick. When you support and empower someone else, you are supported and empowered yourself. You know, it's like the golden rule on steroids. So keep that in mind. If you don't belong, we'd love to have you. It's the Students of Self-Empowerment, facebook.com/groups/students of self-empowerment. You can also go to our website. It's freelifetools.com, freelifetools.com. And on that site, you're going to find all sorts of free videos, mini courses, blog posts. You'll also find all about our courses, our mastermind groups, our group coaching, our ebooks, things like that. So take a look at our website. We certainly appreciate it. And if you have any friends or family that you think could benefit from our message, well, send them all into the group there. It's free and we have a great time. So join us, facebook.com/groups/students of self-empowerment. Gerald, thanks for agreeing with me. I always appreciate that. And I can't see who it is, but greetings from sunny Greece. Greetings from New York City. Hope you guys are doing well. I will see you back here tomorrow and then again on Monday. So go out and enjoy your day. And remember, in the words of the late, great Larry Hagman, J.R. Ewing from Dallas, don't worry, be happy and feel good. See you tomorrow.